Okay, let's start now. So last time we we talked about the Java class and the objects. So so the class in Java can actually you know can take a role as you can define a group of objects with the same characteristics, and we call these uh, the object of a certain class. Okay. So one of the example we talked about was a restaurant. So we can define a class called a restaurant, and then we can define something called a field of the restaurant. So these are field variables. So the variables that related to the characteristic of the restaurant. So we define the field variables, the name, name of the restaurant, and the rating of the restaurant. Okay, so so once we define a class called a restaurant, then we can create an individual restaurant. We call the object. Okay, so so you can create as many objects as we want. So we can create a restaurant called my favorite pizza place, my favorite uh, you know lunch place, my favorite dinner place. So you can create many different restaurants, or you know your favorite restaurant, my favorite restaurant. So you can create many objects. Now each object has its own dedicated name, because the general class called restaurant has a field variables called a name and a rating, and then for each particular object of the restaurant, then the name is there's a specific name assigned to it. So for example, the name is called McDonald, uh, Pizza Hut, or whatever. So you can have a different name for each of the object, and you also have a particular rating for each of the restaurant. Okay, so that's the purpose for the class. So you can define a group of objects. Now, so today we're going to continue our discussion on the bank account. Remember, we talk about the bank account class, and we want to create a class called a bank account, and then so we try to define the class fields, and also we try to define the class methods or operations that related to the account. Okay, so let's our topics on these bank account. So this is something we just did the last time. So we say we can define the class field. One is the balance, account owner, account ID, and then we can define the operations like a deposit, withdraw, bank, check balance, check account, and check owner, who is the owner of the account. And then we also mentioned about, if we define an operation called a transfer, so you can transfer the dollar amount from this account to another account. So then we can put another account name in the parameters of the transfer method. Now let's actually start to work on this. And so what I do is I create a repel account, so we can actually start our work. Let's see what we're gonna do. Okay, so I want to create a repel class, repel dot t. Oh, sorry, repel it. Okay, so my repel I create in module 3a. So I want to create a particular one, uh, particular name, Java, and I call the bank account. Okay. So here I just create a new bank account. So this is actually the account, and in this bank account, I have a Java code called. So this is actually default Java code. It's created by REPL. It's called main.java, which is not really the name I want it to be, because I want to create a bank account. So the class name should be somehow related to the bank account, right? So if you take a look at the Linux kind of command line, I type ls, list all the name. So there's a name called main.java. And then I want to change this file name from main.java to bank.bankaccount.java. Okay. And then I'm going to change the class name from main to the bank account. So I use the move command, move main.java. You can move the file from one site to the other, but you can also change the name using the move command. So move main.java to say bank account.java. Okay. So this we're going to change the name from main.java to bank account. Oh, sorry, main.java. So it's not Java. Okay. I change the name. So now the name is bank account.java. Okay. And then I also going to change the class name to bank account. Okay, bank account. So that's basically a rule for Java. So if you want to create a class name called a bank account, and then that class has to be saved in a file called bank account.java. So the class name and the file name should be identical. You cannot change, you cannot say class name is bank account and I saved in a file called main.java. So this is not going to work. So unfortunately, the REPL, they actually, when you create a project, they will automatically call the name main.java. So that's a reason why I want to change it. Okay. So then we just mentioned that once we create a class called a bank account, we need to define the fields, right? We need to define the fields. The couple fields we just mentioned was balance, account owner, account ID. So the balance should be the dollar amount. So I'm not going to use the integer. I'm use the double. Because the dollar amount could be a real number. It could be a fractional number. So 1.5. That means $1.50. So I have to use, the real number to represent the dollar amount. So I call it double. Balance. I call it balance. And also, the account owner, I'm going to use a string. Normally, account owner is a name, right? String. And account ID. Account ID, you can use integer. Okay. So you define 3 field variable. Now, last time we mentioned that for the field variables, we don't want other people, the class user, to change the field variables directly. So they can change it, but they have to actually, call a method to change it. So you have to provide a method to change the field variables. If you don't want people to change the variables, you should not create a method. for changing the variables. But now, if you define that way, the people can directly change the variable, because if they define a bank account called my bank account, and then they can directly call using the reference that's called my bank account dot balance equals something. Okay. So this way they can change the value of balance. Now, to avoid the people just directly change the variable using dot, whatever the variable name. So then you should actually define this as private. So if it's a private, they cannot directly change it. So only the member methods can change it. So the method defined in the bank account can manipulate the values. So I use private. Okay. So all these are private. Okay. So once we define this, then we can define methods, right? So we define a couple of methods. One is deposit, withdraw, check balance, check account. Okay. So we can do that, definitely. Let's say deposit. Okay. So then you need to specify the deposit amount, right? Deposit amount. So the deposit amount is, let's say, so when you actually call the method deposit, and you can put this as a public method, and the deposit amount, deposit actually method just what the deposit method should do. They just change the balance, right? And add the deposit amount to the balance, right? So then I'm going to say balance equals current balance plus the deposit amount, whatever the deposit amount I want. And then you don't really need to return any value, because deposit is just deposit. It just change, add a deposit amount to the balance. That's it. You're done, right? So that's a deposit. Now the next method I want to implement is the withdraw, right? So I don't have to return any value for the withdraw. So I'm gonna say double withdraw amount. Now withdraw is just the opposite of deposit. Deposit actually, add a balance, add actually deposit amount to the balance, and the withdraw is just the withdraw from the balance, the amount, the withdraw amount. Okay. Do you have any questions? So these are the two methods I want to. Now, one thing I want to mention is that when you define the field variables, it's just a variable, right? When you want to manipulate the variables, you have to make sure the variable has a value. But initially, when I declare the variables balance, there's no initial value. So even though you can actually add initial value somewhere, but you can always initialize here when you initialize the when you declare the variable, right? So the balance, initial balance, I can put a 0. That makes sense. When I create the account, the balance is 0, right? Now, what is the initial account owner? The account owner should be a name, right? But when I create account, create an object of my account. Now, what is the owner of the account? If I put it over here, say the account owner, I put the name here. Now, what's the problem? Because every time when I create a different object, they always initialize with that owner. So for example, I put the owner like John Doe, John Doe. Okay. So every time when I create a instant object of a bank account, this particular actually the balance for this object is 0. That's fine. But the account owner is always John Doe. So everyone, it's every newly created account object should have an account owner John Doe, which is not really right? Because we want the account owner to be different from account to account. But here, if we initialize the value over here when you actually declare the account owner, then I initial the value, then everyone should get the same account. So somehow we need to change that one. But right now we can just put as it is. So we don't want to change it. Okay, so now for the account ID, that's even actually more interesting because account ID should be a personalized ID. Your account ID should be unique in this particular bank. So if you have a Bank of America, for all their customers, they should have different account ID, right? They should not have the same account ID. So that's basically, so you really cannot assign the account ID over here. Say everyone start with the same account ID. That's not right. That's going to be confusing. So that's why it's more tricky. So I just leave it as it is. I don't want to assign the initial name. Okay. But maybe I can just add a method later on. Just say set account ID. And then for each individual object, I just call set account ID to set the individual ID number. But that's also the problem because if you allow each individual object to call the method to set the ID, then how can you prevent two different objects to set the same ID, right? So that's also a kind of tricky. So that's why I want to leave it right here and don't touch the account ID, but just the balance and the account owner. Okay. Now, once you define this, and then then the next couple of methods I want to create is, well, the account owner was initially created as John Doe. Then I want to create a method to set up the account owner name. Okay. So I can just say set account owner. Okay. When I set the account owner, I need to provide my own. Okay. I put my say owner name. So then hopefully I can set an individual account owner. Okay. Now, what does set account owner basically means? So I provide the owner name. So I change the account owner from the generic one. Oh, sorry. That's not the one. Account owner. Account owner from the generic John Doe to my personalized owner name. Okay. So then I can set the account owner. Okay. Looks like it's all right. Now, what other method I want to create? I remember we want to create a check balance. Okay. Okay. Instead of actually check balance, I'm gonna call name a get balance, which is pretty much the same functionality. Okay. Get the balance. I want to just say return balance. Okay. And then the return, I need to put the return type, which is double. I return a balance. I just put a double. Then I'm gonna get two more methods. Another method is called check account ID, check account owner. So let's say check account owner. I just say get account owner. Okay, and then what I'm gonna return? Return account owner, which is type string, right? Now, for now, get the account ID. I don't want to touch the account ID, but I will later. Okay, because account ID is a little bit tricky, even though it's not. It's very straightforward, but to implement it, it's a little bit tricky. And okay, so that's pretty much what I want. The only one I'm missing is a transfer, right? But I'm gonna implement the transfer later. So let's manipulate the account, right? My bank account for now. So the main method is still here, but I want to delete this printer statement. So this is the main method. And in the main method, it's still the statical. Main method is always statical. It's the entry point for the bank account. So in here, I want to create my a particular account. I can say bank account. Okay, I want to create the object and one particular account. Say my checking account. Okay, my checking account. So that's a syntax. I could put a new and then a bank account. Parentheses. Now, this bank account, it's a name of the class, but sometimes it's called a constructor. Now, why it's called a constructor? We'll talk about this later, because constructor is another big topic in the class. Okay, constructor allow people to create an object of this class, and also allow people to initialize the field variables. Okay, now I want to create two accounts. So I'm lazy. I want to copy paste. The second one is called my saving account. Or if you want to create more, you can say bank account. I'm gonna say John's account. Okay, so you can create whatever, you can create 3 accounts. So each of these is an object of a bank account type. Bank account type, bank account type. So now if you want to know the information about these 3 accounts, then you can actually get the information. Okay. So what you can do is let's say I create another method. I call the get account info. Another method. account. So typically, for each class, you always want to create a method that get the general info of the method. Okay, get account info going to be basically you're going to print out the information. Okay. Now let's say the first one account. Mostly the first one should be account ID, but so far we haven't deal with account ID yet. So I'm going to say account name, owner. Okay. So what is the account owner? You should basically say get account owner, right? You can do that. That's okay. Get account owner. Okay. So this is concatenate. Then second one, account balance. Okay. I'm gonna say get balance, right? So there's a name, there's a function called get balance. Okay. Get a balance. Okay, so that's probably the information I wanted right now. So let's say, so once I create this, I'm gonna call, say my checking account. Then I call get account info. Let's say what is get account info here? Get account owner. Oh, I should have a void. There's no info. Okay, and then I'm gonna say my savings account. Get account info. Account info. Now, at this moment, I don't want to touch John's account. Okay, John's account is fine, but I don't want to touch it. So now let's say, oh, so in the main method, I create three actually object of the account. One is my checking account, my savings account, John's account. So I now want to print out information about my checking account and my savings account. Okay. Okay, I just say my savings account. Put the S here. Okay. Now let's see. We want to compile it, right? So what I'm going to compile is Java C bank account.java. Let's compile it. Oh, I got a problem. Java bank account, line 14. Line 14. That's typical. Don't worry about this any compile error. 14. Oh, I don't know why I put the semicolon here. Okay, so I remove the semicolon. Compile. One more. Bank account Java 10. Oh, double DUBB. I also put the L, double L, so that's I don't know what I'm doing this. Great. So then I can execute this method. Okay. So the method can actually print out account owner John Doe, account balance 0.0, account owner John Doe, account. Wow. So I have two accounts, my checking account and my savings account. They seems to be the same, identical, because the owner going to be John Doe and the balance is 00. That's fine. Okay. So let's see. Okay, that's fine. Now, so that's fine. So let's see. I put the, for this, I put the out in. So my checking account. Okay, so before this, I create another one called my savings account. Okay. So that'll be much clear if I do this, because when I print out my account, here's my checking account, account name, account owner, account balance, my saving account, account owner, account balance. Okay. So then I really want to change. Okay. It's not John Doe's account. Okay. So then I'm going to say my checking account. How can I change the name, change the account owner? How can I change the account owner? Can you say, because it's defined as a field, I say account owner equals whatever?
Would changing the account owner be allowed, or is that something we intentionally want to prohibit?
That's a good question. Let's check account owner. Okay. It is defined as a field variable, right? But it's a private. So you cannot do this. Let's actually compile it to see. Okay. Huh. It worked. Okay. Let's see. Because I defined as private account owner. It's a private, and then I in the main, my checking account owner. So let's see. Let's run it. Okay. For some reason, even if I put the Brady Chen to my account owner, it still doesn't really change the owner. It's still the same. But I'm just confused why it does not give me error message, because it's private. So technically, you cannot change the account owner directly by calling my checking account then dot account owner, because account owner is private. So however, you can change the account owner by one of the method I just say put in there. It's a set account owner, right? In the set account owner, you are allowed to provide your own owner name, and then your owner name going to be assigned to the account owner. So the method defined in the class bank account are allowed to change the private data. So let's say, okay, instead of doing this, I'm going to do this. Set. Okay. So I call set account owner, provided with my own owner name, and then I assign the owner name into account owner. Okay. What about this? And then let's just check again. I call this. Okay. Initially, it's still a John Doe once after, right after you create the object. But after I put a new statement saying, int ln for a checking account. Okay. I put the here. File. Kind of slow. Yeah, it's working. So then account owner John Doe balance this. The second one, my savings account, John Doe. After set the owner name for my checking account, then account owner Brady Chen balance is this. Okay. So then what I do is I want to deposit the money, right? I'm gonna put my checking account. I'm gonna put the deposit. Okay. So I need to put the amount. Okay, deposit amount. So I just decide to put the $1 million. Oh, it's $10 million. Whatever. It's just an example. Okay. Okay. So then I just print the info again. After I actually deposit the amount, then I just put my checking account get info. So let me actually clean up everything here. So I just say file. Okay. Now account owners by Brady Chen after the deposit. Now the account balance is 1.0E7. That's 10 to the 7. That's 10 million. It's too big amount, so they just put this here. Let me actually reduce the amount. Okay, just to 10,000. That makes more sense. Now it's a 10,000 amount. And then I can do the no. Oh, wow. I want to actually always want to put the information before I want to put the after 10,000 deposit. Okay. Okay. Then I'm gonna do another operation. I want to withdraw. Okay. After $5,000 withdraw. And I'm gonna put the withdraw. Okay. To get the info. Now, so I use the assignment. You don't have to, because you can use the scanner to actually import the amount, and then you can just call deposit and call withdraw. Oh, what's wrong with this? 45. Oh, I don't know why I put this double quote over here after this. Okay, so let's see. Just cleaning up everything. File. I just want to run it. So initially it's John Doe, my savings account. After set up the owner's name, so my checking account becomes, the owner becomes Brady Chen. Account balance still 100 after 10,000 deposit. Now the balance is 10,000, and after 5,000 withdraw, and the amount balance is 5,000. Okay, that makes sense, right? So you can just manipulate the balance. Okay. And then I want to make another withdraw. Okay. So if you want to withdraw 7,000, and then I check my balance. What do you think? After $7,000 withdraw, what do you think?
Will it be negative 2,000?
Negative 2,000. Now my balance is negative. Okay. So now something's wrong, right? Right? Because when we actually when any actually bank want to actually create a software, now somehow this is a bug, right? If people, you know, can deposit $1,000 and then they can withdraw $1,000,000, and the bank basically got the minus 900,000 something balance, or it's a negative 900,000 something balance. That's definitely wrong, right? Because no bank will allow people to withdraw more money than they have in their balance. Okay, that must be something we have to fix. We need to fix. So let's go back. So in the implementation of withdrawal, we find out that the withdrawal is very simple. You just actually, you know, deduct the withdrawal amount from the balance. So it's a balance minus withdrawal, and this gonna be the new balance. That's wrong, right? There's a bug in there, because if I am the owner of the bank, I never allow people to withdraw more money than their balance. So what are you going to do? It's kind of easy fix. You can put the if statement, say if the withdrawal amount is greater than balance, right? Then what do you do?
you'd print an error message, and then else you allow them to change the balance.
Okay. So then you're going to say print. Okay. The withdraw amount is larger than your balance. Okay. They don't do anything, right? And then they can put the else. Else basically means, okay, if that's not the case, or you just actually, well, you just allow them to, or else, have to put the else. Does that make sense? Okay. So if that condition is not true, that means the withdraw amount is less than or equal to the balance, then you allow to deduct from the balance. That makes sense. So let's see. Okay. It's kind of slow. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you, after that's not the inaccurate one, but after a 7,000 withdraw, then it says your withdrawal amount is larger than your balance. So the account owner is this, account amount balance is still 5,000. So you basically decline their withdraw. But that information is kind of confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Okay. So okay. So what I can do is I just make my operation robotical. So I'm gonna say so withdraw amount equals balance. Okay. Then I don't care. I just give them warning saying if withdraw amount is greater than balance, I just print out your withdrawal amount is larger than your balance. But anyway, I allow you to withdraw, but I change the withdrawal amount to your balance. Does that make sense? So I change the withdrawal amount to your balance. So if your withdrawal amount is more than balance, I just force the withdrawal amount to be your balance. Okay. And then in any case, your balance, the new balance is going to be your balance minus withdrawal amount. So that means if your withdrawal amount is greater than balance, then you're going to basically, your withdrawal amount is going to be the same as balance. So your new balance is going to be 0. I only allow you to withdraw the balance amount if you want to withdraw more than the balance. Make sense for you? So now let's just do the compiling. Okay. Oh, so your withdrawal amount is larger than your balance. So then you can still withdraw 5,000. But I don't allow you to withdraw 7,000 because you only have 5,000 balance. So you only allowed to withdraw 5,000. Okay. So that's the uh, the implementation for withdrawal. And also you can actually put some kind of return value for your withdrawal. So that you can put the return value as Boolean, which is a logical value. Okay. So so that means if your withdrawal amount is greater than the balance, so even though you are allowed to withdraw the balance, but your withdrawal activity is kind of unsuccessful because you don't get the amount you want. You only get the amount in your balance. So I'm going to say return false. Okay. So that means that your withdrawal is still false. And then if you, okay, I'm not, so I'm going to say I'm going to actually define a local variable called Boolean. Withdraw success or not. Okay. So I should set the initial value to true. But if your withdrawal amount is greater than the balance, then I'm going to say withdraw success set to false. And if so you return your withdraw whatever the value for this. Okay. If you actually this condition is not true, then you never get into the if statement. So the withdrawal success is true. But if you get in there, if the withdrawal amount is greater than the balance, then the withdrawal success is false. Okay. So you can do this. You can have a withdrawal. You can have a return value. When the withdrawal is successful, then it's successful. Withdrawal fail, even though you're still allowed to withdraw the amount, the balance amount, but your withdrawal activity is not really a successful one because you want to withdraw 1 million, but you only got 1,000 because your balance is 1,000. Okay. Now what are we missing? I think I want to implement something else. Oh yeah. Oh, we want to also implement a transfer of balance. Okay. I can implement a transfer of balance over here before the get account info, before the static main method. I can actually put the public. I want to transfer. So first I want to actually specify the transfer amount, right? The second one, I want to provide the bank account I want to transfer to. So it's another bank account. So it's a bank account. Another account. I put another account. Okay. So what does that transfer supposed to do? So the transfer is transfer the transfer amount from this bank account to another account. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to another account. Okay. Dot. So this is another account I want to transfer to. And this another account dot So it's going to deposit the amount. What is the amount I want to deposit to another account?
Is it transfer amount?
Yeah, the transfer amount, right? I want to put the transfer amount to another account. Okay. Again, this is actually just like a withdrawal. I have to make sure, I have to double check. So the transfer amount is greater than the balance. Okay. So I still need to check. You want to transfer some amount of money to another account, but your transfer amount is more than your balance. What are you going to do? I still allow you to transfer, okay? But I'm gonna reset the transfer amount to your balance. So you are not allowed to transfer more than your balance. You're only allowed to transfer the amount. You know, that's the maximum. The transfer amount equals balance. If the transfer amount, your request for transfer amount, which is more than your balance, and then I only actually set the transfer amount to do a balance. Okay, and then if that's only happens when this is true, the transfer amount is greater than the balance, then you can reset the transfer amount and not allowed to transfer the amount you request. And then I deposit the transfer amount, okay, to another account. Are we done?
Do you want to? Are you planning to add the boolean for whether it succeeded or failed?
Okay, I can do that. I can add a boolean. So then you can put the let's say transfer success or not. Now I initially set to true, but if transfer amount is too larger, then I'm gonna say transfer amount is success is false. Okay, then I return. What else? Are we done? Okay, let's do this. So over here, well, I want to actually delete that one. I don't want to transfer. I don't want to withdraw 7,000. So I assume after this, we still have some balance. We still have my checking account just with in the initial deposit 1,000, 10,000, and the withdraw 5,000, and still have a balance of 5,000. And then I'm gonna do the transfer, right? So I'm gonna say my checking account dot transfer, and then I want to transfer amount is 2,000, which is kind of reasonable, right? And then another account I want to transfer to is my savings account. Remember, your savings account, the current balance in your savings account is 0, right? Because once I create the savings account, I never change anything for my savings account. So the account owner going to be John Doe. The balance is 0. But now I transfer my money from my checking account to my savings account. Okay. Now, So let's say I need to type. I want to actually check both my savings account and my checkings account after the transfer. So let's say form after actually transfer from checking to saving. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I don't want to see the top, but I just want to see after 2000 transfer from checking to saving, account owner, the first one, account owner Brady Chen, account balance is 5,000, account owner John Doe, it's 2,000. Well, what was the account balance for my checking account, Brady Chen, before they transfer? 5,000, right? After the transfer, I still have 5,000. Well, my John Doe's check savings account get 2,000. So something must be wrong, right? For the transfer. So this is the transfer amount. 2,000. Okay. The transfer amount is less than balance, so that's fine. The if statement never executed. So the amount 2,000 going to deposit into my another account, which is passed as the savings account. So savings account get to 2,000, and then I return transfer success. What's wrong with this?
It doesn't deduct it from your bank account.
Okay. So I don't think that any bank allow you to do that, right? So you transfer the amount to the other account, but you still have the same balance. So deduct the transfer amount, right? So your current balance should be the transfer amount should be deducted from your current balance, the balance in your current account. Okay, and then you can, you know, you can deposit the same amount to the other account. Okay, so that makes sense. The amount after the 2,000 transfer, my account balance is 3,000, and John Doe's account is 2,000. Okay, that makes sense, right? Okay, so this is actually the bank account, and so basically you can create a bank account, okay, and then you can create all these methods and create the fields, and we haven't used the account ID yet. That's something we can talk about it. So that's why they have the green lines are downstairs. That means you created this variable, but you never used it. So that's why it's just a warning. So you create a couple of different methods and to manipulate your account. And John's account has been created but never used. Okay, so this is actually the operations I can, define to manipulate the bank account. So it's not a perfect, but it's working, right? So you can manipulate all this balance and to do this, actually, manipulate the account for your checking, your savings. Okay. Now let's go back. So we will be back. Now the other, in here, we actually implement the main method in the bank account, which is okay. But you don't have to implement the main method in the same class. Okay. You can actually implement the method in another class. Okay. So what I can do is you can say I want to create another file. Okay, so far, if you check the LS, okay, if you list all the files in your account, so you have a bank account.java, and this is actually the object file, which is actually executable. Okay, so after the compile, you create the executable file, and you can run this. But if you want, you don't have to create your bank account in the same file. Okay, you can create your bank account, but your main method could be defined in another class. Let's say, okay, I can add a file here. I can just say my bank account main file, my bank account main.java. Okay. Okay, I create this, and then I can completely move the whole main method into another. Can move my main. I think that's okay. I don't think that's right. I need to say public class and my bank main, and I can put the main method in there. Okay. So, but now because my main method is in my bank account main, so I have to recompile it, my main method in bank account main.java, and I need to compile this one. And then I can execute this one. It's basically the same file, but in this case, I separate this. I create a dedicated class called my bank account. That's a class, and this bank account is represent bank account. And then to execute the bank account, I create my main class, so which contains the main method, and this main method can actually call another class, right, to create my object for the main for the bank account. So this is actually, you can separate this. Sometimes it's good because if in your project you may create many different classes, and you want to put each class in a different file, right? You don't want to actually you don't want to put all the classes in main in one file. You want to put the different classes in different files, which is fine. Which is better. Okay. So then we can do this. You can create as many classes as you want, and create as many files as you want, and put the different classes in the different files. Sometimes it's much better. Okay, so this is actually pretty much the bank account for now, but just wait. We will continue to update this class because we remember we need to actually figure out how to deal with the account ID and also how to deal with this initialization. I want to actually create a, for example, my object of bank account, say Brady's savings account. So then I want to initialize the name, the owner of the Brady's savings account to Brady Chen. Not like this case, you every time when you create the object, the initial name, the owner should be John Doe. Then you have to change John Doe to something else. But I want to actually directly initialize the name of the owner to the name you want to have. So, and also you can actually create your bank account and directly put the amount of money in your account. So you don't initialize the bank balance to 0. When you create an account, you can actually initialize the bank balance to 10,000, right? You can actually put a balance in there instead of 0. So that's something we're going to talk about later, and that's, next time we're going to talk about one of the important topic is called the class constructor. Okay, class constructor allows people to, initialize the object of the class and create the object of class and initialize the variables. Okay, so that's something we're going to talk about next time. Okay, so I'm going to post this code on the Blackboard, so you can actually go to use your own compiler to compile the code. You can run it, you can update it. So I'm going to actually put the code on the Blackboard. So if you have any question, you can ask me. You can actually even post something on the Blackboard discussion forum. So I can either answer your question or I can discuss this in the next class if I think the topic is very interesting. Your question is very interesting, so I'm going to talk about later on Friday. Okay, I think that's pretty much all for today. Is there any other questions? Well, if you don't have any questions, then I will say that's pretty much all for today. You enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Professor.